Hey tech enthusiasts! Welcome back to Nerdy Throwback Tech, where we take a stroll down memory lane to revisit some iconic gadgets. Today we're taking a nostalgic trip back to 2010 with the HTC Wildfire, one of the most popular entry-level smartphones of its time. From its compact design to the charming HTC Sense UI, we're dusting off this classic phone, which helped to shape the early days of Android smartphones. The first HTC Wildfire was originally released in May 2010. It was positioned as an entry-level Android smartphone, offering a compact design and a set of basic features at a more affordable price point. It is a downsized, downclocked and downpriced version of the HTC Desire, the brand's flagman at the time. The HTC Wildfire received positive reviews for its compact design, affordability, and the inclusion of HTC's Sense UI, which added a layer of customization to the Android experience. However, it was criticized for its relatively low-resolution display and the modest processing power compared to more high-end smartphones. Let's revisit it now. The HTC Wildfire looks a bit like a mini version of the HTC Desire. It has the same brown coloring and shape, but is smaller and lighter. With the smaller size though, you also get a smaller screen. The Wildfire has a 3.2-inch screen with a resolution of 240 by 320 pixels. Not as sharp or vibrant as some of the latest smartphones at the time, but it was suitable for the phone's entry-level market. Nowadays, it is very difficult to imagine having a phone with such a small screen. You can see it compared to a modern smallish phone, the base Galaxy S23. The Wildfire looks miniature, especially considering that the display does not take up the entire front part, but also has 5 buttons as well as speakers at the top. It's weird to use those navigation buttons these days. It's not intuitive. We are used to the standard Android navigation having just 3 buttons. But on the HTC is so cluttered. For a starter, there's a hardware button at the top to unlock the phone. After we unlock it, we have a lot of choices. On the bottom of the display are 3 buttons, all apps, phone and add to home. Below the display, you'll find 4 more. The standard at the time Android buttons, home, menu, back and search. And for final, if you don't fancy swiping, you can scroll using the optical trackpad. You probably haven't even heard of a trackpad outside of laptops. This trackpad is used in the camera app to take photos too. You can do it only with this button. It was weird for me because I'm used to having a shutter button on the display itself. But still, this is a 14-year-old phone with a 14-year-old UX. What can I say about the camera? It's terrible. The quality is bad and the speed is very slow. In my attempts to photograph dogs that can't stand still, the results are blurry to say at least. It takes a few seconds between pressing the camera shutter button and taking the picture. The phone has a 5-megapixel rear camera with autofocus and LED flash. This was a decent feature for a budget-friendly smartphone at the time. At first, I couldn't even save a single photo. I had to find a free microSD card because the phone doesn't have enough storage to save the captured photo. The quality of the captured videos is also so bad. The resolution is 320 by 240 and the videos have sound. That's all I want to say on this matter. Powering the Wildfire is a 528 MHz Qualcomm MSM 7225 processor, which didn't exactly make the smartphone a speed demon. It was not the flagship chip at the time. The power was modest as the device was not intended for resource-intensive tasks. Snapdragon S1 with 1 GHz Scorpion CPU was the top dog of Qualcomm. The chip in the Wildfire is coupled with 384 MB RAM and 512 MB of internal storage, which could be expanded using microSD cards up to 32 GB. HTC Wildfire debuted with Android 2.1 Eclair and was upgraded to 2.2 Froyo. Despite being designed as a lower-cost Android handset, the HTC Wildfire still came with the company's much-loved Sense UI. This was important for its time because then Android was not so developed yet. HTC focused on the Sense UI overlay and the customers were happy. A lot of customizing options with 7 home screens and some extra apps for social networking and travel. But what can you do with the device nowadays? You can connect to internet, but most of the modern website does not support the old and unsecured browser. More precisely, the old browser does not support the modern security standards that are implemented in sites. Some elements will load, but I wouldn't say it's a very high quality experience. Or fast. The built-in apps are unusable too. For example, YouTube says it requires Android version at least 4. Not that it's advisable to watch video on such a small display with such a small resolution. In practice, the phone today has nothing smart. It can only make calls. While the HTC Wildfire may not have achieved the same level of market dominance as some flagship smartphones, its impact on diversifying the market and making smartphones more accessible to a wider audience was significant. The lessons learned from the HTC Wildfire likely influenced the strategies of other smartphone manufacturers in targeting different market segments with a range of devices. This phone was also the start of a new series in the HTC portfolio. The Wildfire name was used for several more phones, most notably the direct successor Wildfire S in 2011 and the Wildfire X in 2019. In recent years, HTC has focused on developing smartphones for the metaverse, such as the HTC Desire 22 Pro. However, the metaverse is still a very young market, and it is unclear whether HTC will be able to make a successful comeback in this area. Or, in other words, HTC phones are a thing of the past.